just heard about my method of fishing in the winter, like the fishing days and being mobile, minimum kit, you know, coming back refreshed each day. But obviously, I said about quick bite methods. You're fishing for a bite at a time, so you can fish stringers, which is pretty sort of self-explanatory. Bottom bait with a bit, you know, PVA string or mesh bag with a few boilies in, dissolved, so you've got a little cluster of baits out there to entice the fish to come in. Obviously one of them's got the coffee flavoured one in, the hook one, which the fish don't really like. But yeah, the other choices, I mean, I'm quite a fan of using pop-ups in the winter, because you get things like rotting weed on the bottom, you know, in late autumn the leaves are sunk as well. It can affect your hook, you know, your hook point might get caught if you've got a bottom bait, so I like to use a pop-up, and it makes it a little bit more visual as well. I mean, I think personally you get a better hook hold with pop-ups. But obviously in the winter, the food bait sort of side of things tends to die off, you know, the fish meals. It's not really the ideal thing to feed them with. You feed them with like carbohydrate baits, things that go through them quickly. You don't really want to sort of feed them in some ways, you just want to get a quick bite. And we've said it in the past, like we've referred to them as lures, like as lures are like bright pop-ups basically. So I mean, myself, I like to keep always have a few different colours. I mean, here got some pineapple wear balls, buoyant enough. I mean, there's a couple of different sizes there. You see, I've got some 10mm ones that can be for a snowman rig, a little sighter on top of ones, a bit visual, or the 15mm ones which will go on my hinge rigs or chod rigs, depends what I'm using really. I mean, sometimes just use a standard no knot strip back sort of coated braid sort of pop-up rig with a shot on, basic rigs. So, and again, I've got some white chocolate ones. The reason why I've got the white chocolate ones is because I'm using Nash's Amber Attract, like chocolate malt bait. It's a bait I've used years ago and done well on. Just happen to be using it again this winter. You stick to what you know really. You sit here in the cold weather and that for hours on end. You want to be confident in your bait that you've used for years. But yeah, going back to the pop-up things, it's always good to have a few different colours. I mean, match anglers, they don't go to a match with one coloured maggot. They tend to take several different coloured maggots or different baits, because they have to constantly try and work a swim to try and get a bite out of it. And through the course of a day, apparently, I'm not a match angler, but I do know a few. Different colour maggots can win bites at different times of day to do with the light levels and everything. So, of course, in the winter it's worth taking a few different colour pop-ups, because one day you might be catching on yellow pineapples, next day it might be a tutti frutti. I mean, yeah, you can end up with a bucket full of all different colour pop-ups or loads of different tubs in them, or you can always take the short route and do, you know, Nash's brought these ones out, they're called rainbow pop-ups. It's just basically a pot of different colour pop-ups really. It cuts your sort of load down really. You have several different colours in there. I mean, I would quote them all, but I think you can see with your own eyes how many different colours there are in there, different sighters. Again, yeah, it's always handy to have your different colour baits. Another one, slightly controversial, the old maggots, germ warfare, gentles call them what you may. These something that's been, you know, a lot of people regard it as a fairly new winter method, but they have been about for years. I can remember reading something about Rod Hutchinson catching carp on curry-flavoured maggots back in the 80s. My dad actually taught me how to go carp fishing. You know, the first days carp fishing I ever did, that's what we used was maggots, and you know, that's what got me hooked on fishing for carp really. But the reason why they tend to work well in the winter is they get things going in a swim really. I mean, I can remember Dave Mallon experimenting with them the winter before he caught basil out of the North Lake, not on the North Lake, one of his local waters, but he found that he was really struggling to get bites, but he just kept spraying. He decided to start spraying maggots out over his area, and it got things going for him. You know, things started happening in the swim that wasn't happening before, and he just believed that putting the maggots out was getting the silverfish going, it was kicking up bait, and like maybe leftover bait from other anglers or himself, his pre-bait, but it was getting things going on in the swim, and of course a little bit silverfish and everything else happening. It just encouraged the carp to feed, and he did start catching fish. I don't know exactly, but I think maggots played a part in his capture of basil, and they definitely within 7 days played part of him catching heather. That was springtime, but In more recent years, we've seen Rob Malin and Bernie Loftus and that do very well on the Magaliner. Dave Benton done very well over Sandhurst. In a January, I think over 30 bites using a Medusa rig with bags, like pinpointing an area, get them zeroed again, as I said earlier. But they definitely do get a bite. They can get bites when all else is failing in the winter, and I believe it is because it encourages the small fish, the silverfish, baitfish, call them what you may, into the swim. It just gets things going on. You can fish them how you want, really. I like red maggots in the autumn when the bloodworm's being harvested, and when the water temperatures hit rock bottom, and the fish are probably more sight feeding where their reactions are slowing down through water temperature. I prefer using the white ones. Bit like the pop-up thing, really. They're white, they're more visual. You know, if they're passing fish, or a fish might swim that extra foot or so and just come in and start sucking them up. I mean, obviously they will get a bit aggressive when they want to eat them, but they will, again, get you bites when you wouldn't expect them to. And I said earlier about bite times can be very short in the winter. Maggots can also get you bites when at any time of day. It's a bit like floater fishing. You could sit around behind boilies all day long on the lake not catching anything in the summer, but stick a floater out and you might get that extra bite in the middle of the afternoon when no one else is catching, just because you've bothered to fish on the surface. The same thing can happen with maggots. You can get them extra bites that wouldn't normally have happened just because there's a cluster of them out of a bag on the bottom. So worth a try. Like anything in the winter, it's anything's worth a try to get that bite, make it worthwhile going out. So. Well, I think that just about covers everything, you know, for me day session approach, several different methods. But there's one thing I did forget to say. I mean, obviously it's something you do last full, so we'll do it last in this piece anyway. So, is when I leave in the evening, it's obviously dark. I thought, you know, it's time to go home, but this time of year the seagulls can be a bit of a nightmare, so it's not really, because it's short session fishing for a bite at a time, I don't really want to put any bait out while I'm here, so stick to bags, pop-ups, whatever, in the daylight hours. But once I've packed up in the evening, everything's folded away, ready to go. There's one last job to do, and that's sometimes involves walking around in the dark, or from the swim that I'm actually just vacating, and that's to always sort of carry a few extra baits, and it's a case of just in the dark. I'm not that worried because I like to spread them about and scatter them out with a good old throwing stick in the general area as to where I've been fishing, or when before I pack up, I might have seen fish showing elsewhere and it's a little bit late. I'm not going to move there just now, but can come back tomorrow, so I'll go there in that swim tomorrow. So I'll go down there and scatter a few baits, and then they're left there to settle. The next morning I can come down, cast out, put 3 rods, bags, pop-ups, whatever I'll decide to use on the day across that area and see what comes with it. So it's a case of bait up in the dark when you're leaving. No worries about seagulls in the water disturbing it, spoiling your karma. So another one, just another 5 or 10 minutes at the lake in the evening. It's worth that little bit of extra effort, just going that little extra mile sort of thing. It all helps. So I'll leave you with that. So good luck.